Today we are going to talk about 5 tips to improve your music videos. I'm predominantly going to be talking about the type of music video where it's a band or artist performing to camera as opposed to it being like a narrative story. That's mainly because if you are doing a narrative story kind of video, so one where it's actors doing essentially a short story, that's quite hard to actually give tips on because it is essentially a short story accompanying the music. So instead, I'm going to be talking about performance videos and 5 tips that will help you improve yours. Tip number 1, shoot lots of everything. This sounds a little bit obvious, shoot lots of things, but it's something that gets overlooked, especially if you're a beginner. So the basis of shooting everything is that you could get into the editing process and you could start editing together the video and you're finished. You've got a 3-minute video and then there's a bit that seems a little bit slow. You could do with like putting in a few extra shots and you just don't have them. You just don't have extra shots that would work there. At that point, there's nothing that you can do. That you are now stuck, and either you need to go out and reshoot extra stuff for it, which is really not ideal, or you have to put out a video which isn't perfect. So the solution to that is just to shoot lots of things all the time. So let's say you're shooting a band with 4 members. For each of those members, that could be drums, bass, guitar, and a singer, for example, for each of those members, have at least 3 different camera angles for them for the entire song. So that could be something quite basic like, one in front, one from the left, one from the right. But you can be more creative with that. You can do, like with drums, for example, you can do a sweeping shot, so you can do things that are moving a little bit, or you can do an overhead shot, for example. Just anything, just shoot lots of things. But on top of that, you can also do a really far out wide shot. You could time lapse the video being done. You could do weird, interesting things like you could shoot 1 take for each member so that you can do it in slow motion. So that would be that you'd actually speed the song up and then have the artist perform faster, so then you could slow the footage down so then it's in slow motion but still in time. You could do that. You could do that for an entire video, but you could do that just as individual shots so that you're actually shooting more things. Do little interesting stuff, like if it's a band that's got a lot of movement, shoot their feet as they're moving around. You don't have to use it very much in the video, but if you come to a point in the edit where it's, I could do with a little bit of extra footage here, but really I need to stay focused on the singer. If you've got a bit of footage of the singer's feet, like as they're doing a little dance or moving about or anything, you can insert that where you need it at the times when you feel like you need a bit of extra footage. Collect that extra footage and make it a little bit odd. Videos of amps, for example, like just mess around with it and just get some weird, interesting stuff. Shoot everything. Tip number 2 is really just avoid tripods. For a video like this, a tripod works really well. You can just focus on me and there isn't much camera movement needed. However, in a music video, ideally you want as much immersion as possible. The more an audience member feels a part of the song and feels like they are experiencing something, the chances are the more they're going to enjoy it and more they're going to feel like a part of it. Having a camera move with the music is really helpful. So, for example, if you had quite an up-tempo metal track, like having the camera kind of headbang with the artist is a really good way of kind of keeping that kind of immersion with it. You can't do that if you're stuck to a tripod. There's a lot that you can do with just little bits of camera movement that makes everything so much better than if it was just sat on a tripod. I get that's hard if you're making it for yourself, if you are the artist and the cameraman, but just asking someone to hold the camera for you and just roughly pointing them in the right direction as to how you want it done will give you much better results than sticking your camera on a tripod. Tip number 3, avoid cliches. It's very, very easy when you first start doing something to say, everyone does this, so I'm going to do it too. And that is arguably the worst thing to possibly do. If at the key change of a pop song, everyone stands up in the video, just because some artists do this, especially 90s boy bands, that doesn't mean that you should do it in your video when you have the key change. Again, that's a bit of an odd example, but it applies to a lot of things. If there's a guitar solo going on and you're planning on putting the camera looking up the neck as they're doing this cool thing and it's like this very specific shot, everyone's already done that. Granted, the footage that you're seeing of that is what I shot, so I'm kind of being a hypocrite here, but I'd avoid doing it again because it's a bit cliche. Everyone does it. When there's a solo, you do that shot on a guitar and a bit boring. So avoid it and it will instantly improve your stuff because it stops being cliche. It will stop someone who has seen a lot of music videos sighing. If someone has seen tons and tons and tons of music videos and then, this music video does the same as what everyone else has done, that's not very interesting for them, is it? So make the conscious choice of saying, everyone does this, so I'm going to avoid it. and you will probably benefit from doing that. Number 4, do not overestimate what you can and can't make. I do not own a green screen studio. I do not own a blue screen studio. I do not own anything anywhere near good enough to blue screen or green screen a video professionally for someone, and therefore I won't. I know within myself what I can and can't make, and therefore will never attempt to make something, especially if it's for somebody else, that I can't guarantee that I can do. Now, this isn't me saying don't experiment, don't do something interesting or creative, because I want you to do that. I want you to do something interesting, creative, try something new, try something different, take something from someone else and be, oh, I'm going to apply that to music videos. But if you require a helicopter to do the thing that you're wanting to do, maybe don't do it. You will do the things that you can do to try and get the end result, but you won't be able to do everything, so you'll just end up with like kind of a half-finished, not properly there yet video, whereas you could set yourself a really realistic target to hit and then nail it, at which point you'd actually have a better video than the ambitious video that you didn't quite follow through on. A good example of this that'll crop up quite a lot is if you're going to make it with your phone. Now, you can't expect to have an amazingly cinematic kind of video because it's just unrealistic for a phone. So don't shoot for that. There are apps that exist like that will emulate bad VHS and will kind of make it look like a DIY video. And because you're doing a DIY video with a phone, you will actually kind of benefit from having that. Joe's Band's a really good example. We shot this video with the potential that it could actually be really good, but instead we actually made the quality look a little bit worse, which benefited the video because everything was kind of DIY. The fires that we were setting were DIY. The entire thing was super low budget. So having the video quality match that was actually better than if we'd have tried to make it look like some Hollywood production, because we didn't have the things in place to nail Hollywood production. So we didn't, and we benefited from being realistic, I think is the right term. Be realistic in what you can and can't make, because you'd be best off nailing something that's kind of basic rather than trying to go for something that is totally unreachable and just kind of missing the mark. Again, I'm not saying don't be experimentative and creative and stuff, it's just something bear in mind. If you can't do something, don't try and force a video to be like that thing. Tip number 5 is shoot B-roll or a kind of story. So this is kind of an odd one because you can blend a story narrative video with band shots. And sometimes big artists will do this, but I'm not talking about it in the way that a lot of artists will do it, where they will have a proper story worked out. They will have something that is a genuine kind of narrative with events happening and story points and plot holes and characters and all these little things. And I'm not talking about make something like that. What I'm saying is that you could shoot a little bit of kind of story or concept to accompany the majority of your video, which will be a band playing or an artist performing. For example, in this video that I shot, a lot of the shots were of Shiny, the lead singer, just kind of running around, lost, confused, getting agitated, and there wasn't much of a story behind it. We had kind of built a backstory and we had an idea why we were doing that, but we never really presented it in the video itself. It was all kind of abstract and a bit conceptual. So it was very kind of themic, and it was giving the impression of that we wanted that the song was giving, but we never actually told a story. It wasn't a full narrative. It was just kind of B-roll shots in the same location that we were shooting the band anyway, and it kind of accompanies the main video or the performance of the video to the point where it's a nice little thing to kind of cut away to keep the interest, so that you're not just having a 4-minute video of a band playing. You've actually got some interesting things going on without it actually being a fully fledged story. That's something worth thinking about, because you can definitely do it. It's easy to do. If you've got one location to shoot the band, maybe use that one location to shoot some other stuff as well. If you're kind of a fun band, something messing about, or if you're a metal band, for example, something that's a bit aggressive and almost scary, have some weird kind of thriller-esque visuals. I don't mean thriller as in Michael Jackson, I mean thriller as in like the genre. Like some, I don't know if you've got masks, have something going on with the masks and pulling faces at it and that kind of thing. Because that is really interesting and can add a whole other dimension to your music video without that much extra effort. And if you're shooting a performance video and you've got an extra hour, an extra 2 hours, shooting that extra bit of B-roll and extra footage that could potentially be a story, but it's not really a story, can just bring a whole other meaning and a bit more excitement around your video for little effort. So that's it. That is 5 ways that you can improve your music videos, or if you're just starting to do music videos, maybe consider these 5 things when you're making your first one, because it will put you above what maybe you could have made without knowing these little things. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. This series is going to keep going for a little while, so if you didn't watch the first episode, I will link it there, and we're going to have some more episodes on music videos and creating music videos. Next episode, in theory, should be about editing music videos, so check in for that in about a week's time, hopefully. We ended up doing 2 live streams between last episode and this episode, so don't expect it to be next week, but hopefully it will come out next week. And if you want to see more from this series, I'll put a link here. Currently, there are only 2 videos in. If it says there's more than 2 videos, we've released more. Go check them out. And thank you very much for watching. I will see you next week.